Hello, everybody. So today we'll be talking about projects. So as Kostas said, we had it was a full year with projects that ended, projects that we applied for, etc. So we had several successful applications in 2025. The Minimis, which is funded by the Ministry of Health, which covers some of the operational costs. The core ended, we'll talk about it later, and several other projects. We'll be seeing more of them later, so I don't have to mention them twice. So of course we had some unsuccessful applications because why would everything be excellent and perfect? But I mean, that's part of the deal. And of course we have some pending applications as well. We're looking forward for an AMIF response and also some collaborations with the ministry. Maybe we'll talk about more about it later. The three major projects that ended in 2025, My Health, Core, and AHF, AIDS Healthcare Foundation funding. So through My Health, we were able to engage more people with migratory background with our services. We developed more collaborations with migrant spaces and migrant-led organizations like Cyprus Refugee Council, Caritas Migrant Center, Center for Asylum Seekers at Kofinum, and also right in Larnaca. And also we were able to update our services and the way we collect data and ask for data. So it was a very valuable lesson for us as well. Some photos from the spaces and from the people that were engaged through this project. Through the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, we were able to cover the costs for our pop-up and outreach testing services. And all of the videos that we will be watching today are part of this funding. Again, some more beautiful pictures from the testing sessions we had through that. Core, the project through which I was engaged with the movement officially, ended this year as well. It engaged 24 partners from 16 different countries. That's all the organizations. Some of the biggest accomplishments were that we were able to cover the cost of our regular testing sessions here at this space. We were able to purchase a second tent for our outreach testing sessions. We were able to kickstart our hepatitis B and hepatitis C pilot project, which is still going even after the pilot launch. We had money to promote our services, so we made ourselves more visible and known here in Cyprus. And some other accomplishments. The last one we were mentioned, the AIDS Solidarity movement was mentioned as one of the success stories of CORE. That was also the year that PrEP became available in Cyprus officially, so it was a huge success in this aspect. Some more, this is from the last meeting. Me and Zoe were there in Berlin. This is from Barcelona, from a meeting. And Despina, we'll talk about SAFER.
Yes, Evalas.
Can you hear me? Oh. So I'm going to speak about SAFER project and also some other services that we provide as AIDS Solidarity Movement. SAFER stands for Safeguarding LGBTQI People's Right to Health. It's a 2-year project co-funded by European Union with 5 partners. Cyprus Family Planning Association has been the leading partner of the project and coordinator, and the rest of the partners are Accept LGBT Cyprus, AIDS Solidarity Movement, Vias Publishing House, and the Research Foundation of University of Nicosia. The project began in May 2024, and it will conclude this in May 2026. The project is about the right to health for LGBTQI people and the provision of inclusive healthcare services. So the actions of the project have been around these aims. In 2025, it was mainly the research phase of the project, which had research which was quantitative and qualitative, aiming towards the LGBTQI community, but also healthcare professionals and students through questionnaires and interviews. As a movement, we had a major role in the development of the questionnaire of the project, of the interview guidelines, and also in recruiting participants, both from the community and the healthcare professionals and students. In September 2025, we were also part of the press conference presenting the outcomes of the research report. The research report can be found in the website of the project. And also I had the chance in May to present in the European LGBTQI Health Conference, part of the research process, because back then we didn't have the results out yet. Then the training phase, the actual trainings are happening now in 2026, which we'll present in the next year's AGM. In the planning of the trainings, we had the chance to develop these guidelines for healthcare professionals on how to be more inclusive in the provision of healthcare services. This guide is in both Greek, English, and Turkish. We were able to print it just recently, but also in the website of the project, you can find in the 3 languages. The training packages also in Greek, English, and Turkish, which was the basis of the trainings that we are now able to provide and implement in this phase of the year. Christos will also talk about it later, but we managed until now to conclude 5 sessions for healthcare professionals. And what we achieved from last year was to get accreditation for these trainings from the Cyprus Association of Nurses and Midwives, which was a big achievement for the consortium of organizations. And we were invited also to make a presentation at the occupational therapy class at European University Cyprus last December. And apart from professionals, we also implemented trainings for students. A big part also of the project is the implementation of empowerment sessions, which are led by ACCEPT. And as organizations, we had collaborations till now, last November, through a movie screening and discussion on the right to safer health and care. And next Saturday, and you're all invited, we will host together as organizations an info session on sexual health, and the testing will follow. It will be here from 3 till 5, there will be the info sessions, and 5 till 8, it will be a testing, and I hope we see you there. Here. Yeah, it's open to the public, either members of the community or not. It's open to anyone that has questions around sexual health, safer sex practices, accessing PrEP, and all this. Yeah, they need to sign up in the Safer Instagram page. There is a sign-up form, so whoever is interested, they need to sign up. So apart from our project, a core foundation of AIDS Solidarity Movement's work is the provision of psychosocial support to people living with HIV. For more than 30 years, our own Yvonne, that is here also with us today, has been providing support to people living with HIV, but also to families and friends. In 2025, we were able to give psychosocial support to 238 people living with HIV and to 5 individuals, families, and friends of people living with HIV. Apart from the psychosocial support, part of our work, it's also the provision of other kind of services to people living with HIV and support. For example, last year we distributed to 15 individuals antiretroviral treatment, but also we provided other kinds of support such as food, clothes, vouchers for supermarkets, etc. I will give the floor to Christos now for he has something to mention.
I just want to mention the last part here because it's something that I managed basically together with Yannis. We had a request from a person in the north side of the island who is a UNHCR protected by UNHCR, a refugee protected by UNHCR, a person living with HIV without access to treatment, who had a lot of difficulties. And I can say that this took a bit more than a year and a half, but we managed, he's included in the support that we gave when it has to do with some food. But also the good thing that I have to say is that we managed to link this person after contacting global organizations and providing Life for Me, the global organization that provided some antiretroviral treatment for the person to have treatment until it had linkage to care. And at the end, it was a successful project in the sense that this person is linked to healthcare in the north, in the hospital in North Nicosia. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving on. This past year, we were able to enrich our archive of resources and informational material, and in various languages as well. For example, we were able to, through EATG, European AIDS Treatment Group support, to print a guide to accessing PrEP in Cyprus, PrEP in Cyprus, and provide information through Cyprus PrEP Point. We have the flyer in Greek, English, Turkish, and French language. Yeah. And we have in the back for whoever wants, we can provide. Another informational material that it's only available in our website is the DoxyPEP flyer, which was kindly a volunteer work because there was no budget available. It was done a lot of work by our volunteer, Denise, and you can find it in our website in Greek, English, and Turkish. Thank you, Denise. And also the printing of our the development and printing of our flyers on where to get testing in Greek, English, and Turkish, right? Yes, and you can find it printed, but also available in our website. Together with our existing flyers on PrEP, but also on sexual health and HIV, which are printed. And now the floor to Yannis.
Change of microphone.
Hello again. So, what happened in 2025 regarding communication and campaigns? We had a new website, which is part of more websites are within a website. So it's asmcyprus.org, which provides information regarding AIDS solidarity movement, along with CY-checkpoint.org, which provides anything regarding testing and all engagements of CY Checkpoint. and our new website, Prep in Cyprus, which is back active. Thank you. That provides information, more information because there is the flyer as well, but it provides further information on the flyer as well in Greek, Turkish, and English, all of these three websites. And thank you, Christos and Denise, for all the hard work with the websites and the translations, etc. We had a collaboration with Starbucks for June 2025 for the Pride Month. They approached us to have pop-up testing at 2 of their locations, the central Starbucks here in Nicosia and at Starbucks at Yermasoia. Of course, as every other year, we were part of all these festivals, United by Pride, Cyprus Pride, FemFest, Queer Wave, and Up to Youth, where we set up tents or went there with our testing bags and provided testing to the people going to these festivals on the spot. This was from Cyprus Pride 2025. Lots of work and lots of fun as well. And a big other campaign we led in 2025 was in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, a project a campaign that aimed to destigmatize HIV testing to the general population. It was funded, as told before, by the medical services of the Ministry of Health, and the main activities were to provide HIV and STI testing in visible spaces in all major cities, minus Famagusta, sadly. We were not able to secure a place in Famagusta for this year. And the dissemination of free condoms, loops, and HIV self-tests. And beyond that, we promoted on buses in Nicosia and Larnaca, on an escort site, and on social and traditional media. This is the slogan of the campaign, or the organizations that provided support for that. This is the schedule. Again, the collaborators and a still from Salon Square with our testing in collaboration with the University of Nicosia Medical School. Our tents at Molos in Limassol. We developed a couple of social media spots. This is one voiced by Gogo Alexandrinou.
Όποια ηλικία ή φύλο κι αν έχεις, αν κάνεις σεξ, κάνε τεστ. Μπες στο κάνετest.org και μάθε πού μπορείς να εξεταστείς. Ανώνυμα, γρήγορα και δωρεάν. Για ασφαλέστερο σεξ, κάνε τεστ. Cyprus Checkpoint με τη στήριξη του Υπουργείου Υγείας.
All these beautiful visuals, by the way, are created by Mimis, our graphic designer. He's so good. I had to mention. This is the design of from the buses in Nicosia and Larnaca that were around the city. A new website developed in Greek, Turkish, and English regarding where a person can get tested. Here at a community space, at state clinics, state hospitals, as well as through YESI or privately. And this guide was also printed in the back. It's available in Greek and English in the printed form, but information is in Turkish as well on our website. And it was also one of the aims of the campaign to provide clear information about where a person can go get tested. And besides all these efforts, there was more push on the media, on traditional and social media. And you're all graced to be in the same room that Toulla was. So enjoy.
Γεια σου, ήρθα για το check-up. Είμαι εδώ στο checkpoint. Τι κάνει, δεν ξέρεις.
Εδώ τα τεστ είναι ανώνυμα.
Αλλά εγώ είμαι επώνυμα. Salon.
Ναι.
Τι θα κάνω. Εδώ έχουμε τα κρικά για να είμαι σίγουρη ότι το πουτίψ μου σφίζει από υγεία. Γιατί δεν θέλω να έχει αφροδίζια.
Ο επόμενος παρακαλώ.
Samantha, πιθακάρακα.
Σαμάνθα, να μιλούμε με τον περμά.
Μπορείτε να μου μιλάτε στον πληθυντικό και μπορώ να σας μιλάω στον ελληνικό.
Ένα μικρό τσιμπηματάκι στο δάχτυλο.
Σε αυτόν το δάχτυλο.
Δεν έχω δώσει το δάχτυλο.
Πάρε το.
Ούτε αυτό. Πόνισε.
Όχι, λαβή μου.
Θα βάλω έναν τσιρωτάκι.
Βάλετε ό,τι θέλετε. Να έχετε κάνει και εσείς το test σας. Να έρθετε, να πιάσετε τους αντράδες σας, να πιάσετε τις φιλενάδες σας, να πιάσετε τους φίλους σας, να έρθετε μόνοι σας, είναι ανώνυμο, θα πάρετε και τα freebie σας, έχουμε πάρα πολύ ωραία κόντομ. Μη μου έχει και sizes.
Κανονικό και πιο μεγάλες.
Θα τα πιάσω όλα, γιατί ποτέ δεν ξέρεις τι πρόκειται να φάεις. Αν κάνεις σεξ, κάνε test.
And also, I want to mention that a lot of our appearances on the traditional media were part of our safer engagement, which provided airtime for us to share our messages. That's what I was going to say on this slide as well. So yes, you can see all of our airtime on TV and on the radio, which was to provide more information through SAFER, awareness about the World AIDS Day, and a lot of podcasts this year as well. A lot of podcasts, as I said. And that was part of the World AIDS Day appearances on TV. And again, Despina.
Yanni, just to highlight that it's very important for me that we now have Yannis and Despina that, and that's why I put this slide, because I'm no longer the only person from the movement that goes publicly and speaking about the organization, but these guys also went to radio stations, TV stations, podcasts, and I think it's really important to acknowledge their time and effort and the visibility that they give to the community. So thank you, guys.
So this year has been quite rich in taking part in meetings, doing networking, speaking in events, providing trainings here in Cyprus or abroad, either through organizations that we are also members like European AIDS Action Europe, European AIDS Treatment Group, Costas. We were also, but a milestone for this year has been the submission of our application to the Federation of Patients Associations of Cyprus. It's pending the answer. I don't know when we have any, when we will have an answer on our application.
We submitted the application and they acknowledged it and said that it will take a couple of months for their board to approve it, but it's a typical process. And they already told us to give them information of what we are doing. So we thought it's really important to be members of the Cyprus-wide Association for Patients as well.
Yeah, because I think we think that it will enrich our advocacy efforts together with other patients associations on the rights. We will bring the rights of people living with HIV, but in collaboration with all kinds of patients associations, this will enrich the ongoing advocacy work for all patients' rights. And I think in this part of meetings, it's worth to mention also the process of the development of the strategy of the LGBT rights. I don't know if Stefanos wants to mention anything now or in the end of the AGM on that, or where is it now? Do you want maybe to say in the end of, or now?
Whatever you want.
Say now. I mean, the idea there was that the Council of Ministers has approved the creation of a committee, which is constituting it's an inter-ministerial committee, which includes also academics of background, of legal background, or social and political sciences, but also ACCEPT is member of it. However, the agreement was that ACCEPT will also create, and we created a think tank where with the community and community members, which include also your organization and individuals that wanted to input. So we created as a think tank around 40 positions, which were then provided to the academics to work on in line with the European strategy of 2026. The first draft was revised, and now we're waiting for the second draft within the next couple of weeks to be delivered for a final, hopefully, review. Thank you.
Thank you. Because I think this will be an important document in paving the advocacy process for LGBT rights in Cyprus. And thanks for ACCEPT for bringing all the organizations together and the activists. It's important. I think the final floor to President.
Thank you, Despinamo.
Thank you.
So I will go through the next slides, and I would like to talk to you about some success stories that we had that I think they're very important because we have been trying to have these successes for years. I will start with the UNAIDS targets of 95, 95, 95. Last November in 2025, the ministry announced and the ECDC announced first through their publication, and then there was a press conference at the ministry that how the continuum of care and the targets of 95, 95, 95 are going in the WHO Europe region. So the results that we had for these 95, 95, first to say that the first 95 is out of all the people who are living with HIV, 95% of them should know their status, that they are living with HIV. And then out of the people who know their status, 95% should have access to treatment for HIV. And then out of the people who know their status and have access to treatment, 95% of them should have a suppressed viral load. So the first success is that Cyprus is the first country, basically, out of all the countries in the WHO region that participate in this. It's actually us together with three Scandinavian countries. I think it's Norway, Denmark, and Sweden. And we are the first one who reached these top targets. So we have a 98.7% of the first target of people knowing their status, 98.8% of people having access to treatment, and 98.2% of people being virally suppressed. And I think this is amazing news. We can officially say that we have managed to be at a very good level in terms of the HIV prevalence in the country. This photo is from the press conference that for the first time the ministry invited us to present the work that we are doing with the Cyprus Checkpoint and the Cyprus Prep Point. And I was together with Stefanos, who we were speaking before, with whom Stefanos is the secretary of ACCEPT, I have to say, because some people might not know of ACCEPT LGBTI Cyprus. We worked together with the members of the National HIV Committee at the Ministry of Health for a few other things that I will present along the way. But these photos were from the presentation that we commonly did with Stefanos, and I want to take the opportunity to thank ACCEPT for the support that we have in terms of our goals and the advocacy efforts that we have in common. Now, this was the first success that we had. I hope that we keep these really good results because this is an ongoing process. The second success that we had has to do with PrEP. In 2025, at last, we have official rollout of PrEP, which is something that we have been advocating since 2018. So it all started with the efforts that we did since 2018, and then we went to the National Committee and we requested two things. One of the things that we requested was the PrEP plan to be implemented with the support of Dr. Shakalis, who is the head of the current head of the HIV reference clinic in Larnaca, and together with the very important work that Professor Nikolopoulos did from the University of Cyprus, who is also a member of the National AIDS Committee, we managed to co-write the National Plan for PrEP that was submitted from the National Committee, approved by the National Committee, submitted to the Council of Ministers, and then the Minister of Health approved it. And in 2025, we had the first rollout of the first phase of the implementation, which is right now in Nicosia Hospital, General Hospital, and Larnaca General Hospital. And I have to say that during this first phase, we have a very close collaboration with the Ministry for PrEP, which is another success, part of the overall success that I'm describing, because we have an open channel of communication where we are providing feedback to the ministry when it has to do with appointments being delayed or a waiting list or challenges that are faced. And I have to say that we have a very, very good response from the ministry from the things that we share with them. The third thing is something that started last year, the year before, that's been already talked about, but I have to say that it is a success story because we have the trainings this year. I could not mention that in the health professionals trainings, we had 207 applications for 5 workshops, one-day workshops, all around Cyprus, out of which we managed to train 130 because there is a limit in the total capacity that we can have in the training. And then out of the 2 weekends of trainings that we did, one in Limassol and one in Nicosia for health students, we had 73 applications, and we were overbooked, as you can see. We had a waiting list. We managed to train 43, and now we are currently, we added 2 extra trainings in March. One is this coming Monday, and the other is next coming Monday. And today, Despina just told me that we have 70 additional applications for that. So this is, I think, really, really important. We are training people around health, inclusive healthcare, specifically for the LGBTQI population, but we have the opportunity to speak also about HIV, STIs, stigma. So I think it's a really important part. And these are from the trainings that we did the last 2 months. Despina on the left and Yannis on the right. And the last thing that I have to say that it is not yet a complete success, but I again have to thank Stefanos and Accept for the support that we have. This is the second thing that we added in the National AIDS Committee. The first one was PrEP. The second one was the request to change the legal frame in Cyprus and decriminalize HIV transmission. So we had a unanimous decision at the National Committee initially to change the law, and then we are now currently in the process to actually write down and propose a specific text that decriminalizes HIV transmission that will go to the National Committee. The National Committee should hopefully approve it, and then the ministry and the head of the ministry will be sending it to the ministry, the Council of Ministries ministers and Minister of Health for approval. If we manage to have this, I think that we should have a huge part because it's a really important thing. And I have to say that Stefanos is heavily involved as a lawyer in writing this. And thank you, Stefane, personally, and as the AIDS Solidarity Movement for all the support that we have in this. So, So here it is, please, so people can hear the lawyer in you.
Just the lawyer in me need to clarify something. The benefit of the fact that the HIV was included in the regulations of the specific law is giving us a leeway to actually amend the regulations itself without needing parliamentary approval. So with what we are working on all together, we found a solution that amending the regulations deriving from the Περιλημοκαθάρσεως guaranteeing law will be sufficient to remove as a dangerous transmitted disease and only leave it for data collection purposes in line with EU regulations.
So I think it's really important to stress out that this is a good opportunity to actually shape a bit better, not only the specific law and the frame, but also the wording. I will stick a bit on PrEP and talk about the Cyprus PrEP points, just to give you an idea of what we've done. The Cyprus PrEP point is a new service that we started in 2025. It was supported and endorsed by organizations from the local civil society, but also internationally. We actually had a meeting here to publicize the national plan that was approved, and to exercise pressure basically for its implementation. And we had the European AIDS Treatment Group Executive Director and the AIDS Action Europe Executive Coordinator to endorse this effort as well. Through this meeting, we managed to put out there that this plan was actually approved. And I think it played a role to actually have the rollout 3-4 months later. After the launch last May, we moved forward to July, where in an effort to further push, we created the PrEP month with 8 different meetings online, where we managed to have not only Professor Nikolopoulos, who was supporting us all the way, but Dr. Mamelenzis, who is an expert in PrEP and working with specifically with Ukraine right now. They have a PrEP program in Ukraine. We had Dr. Daniel Bogen from the University of Nicosia Medical School. We had AIDS Action Europe and EATG representatives to talk about PrEP. We also were very honored to have Dr. Grankov from the office, the WHO Europe office, and Taimur Nouri, an expert on PrEP from ECDC. And we held a discussion with Positive Voice Greece because they just had their rollout also of PrEP maybe a month before the PrEP month. This took place in July 25, and all the videos are on our website and people can actually go online and watch it. July. June. I thought it was July. Really? Oh, okay, I thought it was July. So, yes, it was June. Through this project, we got a small funding from EATG, European AIDS Treatment Group Scope program, where we created new flyers in 4 languages that Despina said before, and we have them here. And these flyers have been provided to the ministry, and they are using them in the PrEP clinics now to inform the people who are actually getting PrEP. And we had also an article on the EATG website written by Yannis for the success story of having PrEP in Cyprus. And, you know, I have to say that from 2018 until 2025, when we had the actual rollout, I think what we managed to have is not just the rollout. I strongly feel that this is the best plan in the European Union and in the WH region, because It's completely free. It excludes nobody, so everybody is eligible to have access, whether they are registered in the system or not. And it has a partial expansion plan. We are in phase 1 with the 2 hospitals, but we have the phase 2 that should start in October with locations to access PrEP all around Cyprus. And the 3rd phase includes also personal doctors and pharmacies that are registered within the national system. So if we can manage to actually implement the whole thing, it's going to be fantastic, I think. And I will talk a bit about the Cyprus checkpoint. You know that the Cyprus checkpoint is the testing center that we provide STIs. I have to say, I have to connect this, the success, to us, because I do believe that in order to reach the 98.7%, we did play a really huge role the last 12 years. The Cyprus checkpoint is working from 2015 and has been providing anonymous testing to everybody in Cyprus on a location and on pop-up locations. And this was mainly done with funding from AHF, from My Health Network, and with the support of the Ministry of Health. And this is more than 10 years of having community testing in Cyprus with a collaboration of local and international organizations, and we are very proud of it. The results from 2025, these are from the very beginning. We had 1,103 for tests in total, out of which 5 were reactive and 5 were linked. And we also linked 3 additional people who came to us who found their HIV positive status, their diagnosis somewhere else, and they came to us to do the linkage. So in total, all these years, you see that we've done 6,629 tests, out of which 53 were reactive. Out of the 53, we linked 47 people and 23 additional people who came to us to link them to care. So that makes a 70, a number of a total 70 of linkage to care. In terms of syphilis that we are also running alongside the syphilis testings alongside the HIV, we did a total of 5,318 tests, out of which 146 were found reactive. And the people who are found reactive, we had 30 last year. Of course, not all of them were necessarily active syphilis infections, but we do help people to have a link to double check if the syphilis is actually new or if it's a previous diagnosis, because we use antibody tests. This year, in 2025, I mean last year, we managed to expand the test to hepatitis B and hepatitis C with the support of the Cyprus National Addictions Authority. They are giving us, they are providing us the test kits. We started with a pilot, and as far as we know, now we have an open collaboration with the Cyprus National Addictions Authority to continue receiving test kits for hepatitis B and C. We performed 255 for hepatitis B and 224 for hepatitis C. All were negative, but through this process of expanding the test, we have now protocols and guidelines in place for community health workers, for linkage to care. I have to say that HIV and syphilis are tests that we provide to everybody, but hepatitis B and C are offered under a specific protocol to specific populations and under specific criteria. For 2025, these are the countries of the beneficiaries who visited the Cyprus checkpoint, either in this location or outside. Some numbers, 62% were Cypriots and 38% almost were non-Cypriot. These are numbers from 2025. These are the Cypriots, non-Cypriots relationship from the beginning that we started in 2015. You'll see that we were mainly doing Cypriot tests to Cypriot populations, and gradually we have run into having these percentages. So about 6 people out of 10 are Cypriots and 4 people out of 10 are non-Cypriots, which is very important for the penetration in these communities. These are 3 charts from the question that we have in the form. Have you ever been tested before? So we are talking about the people who got tested for their first time ever. In 2023, we had a 36% who said that they were not tested before. So they came to us for their first time. Went to 28% in 2024 and to 27% 2025. So we can say with a security that about 1/3 of the tests that we are doing more or less are to people who never got tested before. These are the locations that we managed to have pop-up testing and outreach and in-location testing in 2025. 69 different locations for Nicosia, 11 for Cyprus, 5 for Larnaca, and 3 for Paphos. And I have to say that we have some new collaborations in 2025. The Youth Board, All for Aid, which is a migrant-led organization. We had collaborations with the Limassol municipality, with the Cyprus Public Transport, with Kyriazis Medical Museum in Larnaca, where we did testing. And of course, we continue our collaborations with Caritas, Cyprus Refugee Council. We went to Kofinu Center. And of course, festivals, Starbucks, I think Yannis mentioned it before. The important part is that we are now offering, apart from the HIV syphilis testing, the hepatitis tests that have been expanded thanks to Cyprus National Addictions Authority. We continue the HIV syphilis testing in-kind contribution of the test through the Ministry of Health. And this last year in 2025, we also had a number of self-tests that we were able to distribute that were funded and supported by the Ministry of Health. Yes, and we had 2 new community health workers. We have a slide later on. Thank you, Zoe. Vasilis is with us as well, and Despina, who you saw before. They are also trained, and they started offering counseling and peer counseling and testing at the Cyprus checkpoint in 2025. And a short video for the testing. Before we move to the last one, I think it's important to ask if there are any questions.
I'll ask about the decriminalization.
Yes.
And since we have lawyers, I mean, is transmitting HIV in any way a criminal offense in the EU?
Yeah. No, go ahead.
So the way the West Europe has approached this, and this is what the ministry wanted explanation, Christos and I had a discussion on it, is that you do not mention specifically the virus itself, because the criminal code itself says that when you transmit without, knowingly or to have known that you have caused harm by transmitting or creating bodily harm, that captures this as well. So it's a matter of the penal code that covers it in a more general way. So it is very important to distinguish that the regulations that exist are for data collection only, and if for God forbid somebody goes on a spree to spread the virus knowingly or unknowingly, there are criminal procedures that can be instigated based on certain penal code. So, yeah.
Are there any other questions? Thank you. And we go to the next part, which is the last called out people and the last video that we want to show you from the series that we produced. So these videos are on our website, but we're going to start using them for the promotion of the testing as well and the movement. The team right now, first the board. Apart from myself, Konstantinos is here as well, who is a secretary. Zoe, who presented the financials. Savas, who was not able to be with us, and Konstantinos, who is online right now. And then Yvonne Mas, the psychologist since forever. The project manager that we have, which is Yannis, thank you very much for the work that you have been doing so far with the movement. Are you 3 years with us? Almost. Three. And Despina, which is now in the second year. Despina, almost 2. And the community health workers that we have, Vasilis is here, but we also have Fadema, Theo, George, and in total, apart from these 4, including also Despina and Yannis, we have basically 6 people doing testing right now, with me as an additional volunteer if needed. But we make a good team right now in terms of the services and the needs that we have. I need to refer to the invisible people who are helping the organization, who sometimes they are visible, sometimes they are not. They are our volunteers. They are the people who are close to the movement, whether they live with HIV or not. I need to thank the volunteers because they are making a huge difference. And sometimes the volunteers are amongst the people who work for the movement, the board. So there is a lot of volunteer work being done. And I have to mention specifically Emilios, who is online, who has been donating for a couple of years, 2 years now, I think, on the internet and the telephone lines that we have. And also Denise, who is here, who has done a lot of the Turkish translations, not only for the flyers and the website, but also for the social media. And for the going into the last part, this year we lost one of our members, Costas Gavrielides. I think we all know him because of his activities associated with the LGBT community and with Accept specifically. He was a member of the movement. I think he was here like 2 years ago, maybe, in the AGM that we had. I think we all decided that we need to acknowledge this loss. I would like to say just 2 things about Costas. The first thing is that I was together with him in the first board of Accept, maybe 12 years ago. No, it was 2010, so it's like 16 years ago. And although we had our differences and I left the organization, we continue having a very good collaboration. The last time I talked to him was last December, when he actually played a role in the case that I told you before of the person living with HIV in the north. And his participation in that role was really important to succeed and link this person to care. So this is the first time that we are saying that, in the sense that, he did things that are not publicly known. And let's have a 1 minute of silence in his memory, please. So thank you. I think he will be remembered, yes?
Just to let everyone know, tomorrow is 40 days since he has passed, and the memorial is at Naos Theosofia in Strovolos, and then the family will accept condolences at the coffee shop opposite the cemetery. So whoever who wishes to be there. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Please.
I wanted to add that we were together also with Costas in that first board of Accept. I think it was 2012 that the first official elections, because Accept was created in 2009. And then in 2012, it was the first official, let's say, elections. Because before we were like a coordinating committee where our Sylvie Mandis was the first president of the committee, which we also lost. I mean, in these past years, we've been losing precious members of the community, and we should embrace the role that each of us, of each person that had in changes. I mean, Costas had a major role in the planning and implementation of the first Prides, and also the fact that we have the civil partnership role law in Cyprus. It's one of the things that he had a big contribution, and also among other things that Christos has been saying, that there are people that have been contributing to the community without being publicly known, many things. And it's for many people that's a case, and we should acknowledge this. And what each member of the LGBTQI community and beyond, it's very valuable and has been doing a lot of work, and we should embrace this and support, despite any kind of things that connect or not connecting us. We should recognize this role.
Thank you, Espinama. And let's move to the last part. I stole it from the internet and photoshopped you. I'm teasing you. No, it was a bit dark, but it's. I need to take a moment after what we just discussed to go into something that is a bit more happy for us. We decided that it is important to acknowledge people that played a role in the community. And that's why we are putting in front of the AGM the recommendation to designate Dr. Bagdades, who is with us, our Evis, as an honorary member. I have to say my part of the story in the sense that when I joined the movement in 2014, I met, first Zoe, who brought me in the movement and said, come over. And then I met Evis at the Apollonion conference, if you remember Evimu back then, when we had the board meetings there with the people who were there. And I remember you telling me at some point, when we had some discussions there in the meeting that you should take over the communication aspect, And from then, I saw this movement grow with you being a president, and then found out that you were the first doctor of the HIV clinic when it was in Nicosia, years before Grigorios was established in Larnaca. And I think that it's really important for us as a movement, and I would like to speak, if I have the right, on behalf of the community of the people of the movement and the people of living with HIV and the communities that we serve, that we want to thank you and acknowledge all the hard work that you've put all these years. And with this honorary membership to symbolically at least say thank you. I don't know if anybody else wants to share anything before I give the word to Dr. Bagdades. Anything you want.
Sorry, I nearly broke your little.
That's okay.
Well, thank you very much. Well, surprised that I thought he would be good for communications. I mean, the minute silence was the longest I've heard him not speak for a long time. so I think, everybody loves you for that. And, we're very grateful. I mean, guys, really, this organization has evolved dramatically. I mean, the projects you're now doing, I'm so proud to be here and to see what's being done. And it's also nice to see that the attention has shifted from the dire medical conditions that we were dealing with to those 98 plus negative or at least not detectable. And this is great. I mean, when we started, I have to tell you, one of the reasons the early members started the movement, there was a guy who had to come from another town to have treatment at the general hospital, and he had nowhere to live, nowhere. And some of the members would put him up in their own flat, make sure he had a warm place, something to eat, have a shower. And, at that point, people would just look at you like, the Antichrist if you had HIV. And so all these people were just pioneers. So I was very happy to join them. I was also very happy to see by the time I finished my AIDS work that we had at the last combination treatments that were very hopeful and have proven to be so. And that now, as you said, we are looking at people who can lead a normal life up to, most people's standards, I would say, better than a lot of other diseases. So, you remain, though, a beacon of hope for people, for stigmatization, and for also claiming rights and doing things in national committees and also on the streets. I'm very honored to be an honorary member and more honored to be your friend. Okay, so thank you very much all.
Thank you very much. We don't have anything else to provide apart from the symbolic and the hug. So
Max, you can have also, I saw his, he signed the invitation and he said pronouns he, him, they, them. You cannot do them anymore.
You're talking about the email I sent you with him. So this concludes basically the AGM. I don't know if there are any questions or anything that anybody wants to say or share, or we can move towards the kitchen and get some refreshments and things we brought. But before that, let me acknowledge that we have some people online, hopefully still. So goodbye, everybody. I'm closing this and going for coffee.
Ciao. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Enjoy.